I still hear her voice, sharp as broken glass. Get out, and don't you ever come back. It was at my cousin's birthday, in front of a room full of relatives, laughter choking into silence. She didn't whisper it, she didn't pull me aside, she screamed it, with her wineglass trembling in her hand, as though I were a stranger who had stumbled into her house. I set my plate down and left without a word. I learned long ago, silence wounds deeper than shouting. But she thought she'd won. It wasn't always like this. There was a time I was their pride, the first to graduate, the one who worked 2 jobs while my siblings burned through their allowances. I paid the bills when Dad's business tanked, covered medical emergencies, even kept the roof over their heads when foreclosure letters piled on the counter. Every check I wrote came with the hope of finally being seen as more than a bank account. But respect never came, only expectation. The shift was subtle. "We're so proud of you," turned into, "You can handle it. Then you'll cover it, right?" Love became a ledger, and I was always in debt. I noticed the betrayal before she ever screamed at me. The little digs at family dinners. "You think you're better than us because you have money?" The way my siblings rolled their eyes when I mentioned work. The whispers I wasn't meant to hear. "She owes us. After all we sacrificed." Sacrificed? They had no idea how many nights I starved so I could wire money home. But I said nothing. I kept paying. I convinced myself loyalty mattered more than dignity. Until that night. Until she told me to get out in front of everyone. That was the moment the switch flipped. I stopped being their provider. I became their reckoning. The first step was quiet. I closed the joint account I had set up for them. No announcement, no warning, just a signature at the bank, a transfer, and their lifeline was gone. Then I redirected the mortgage autopay. 3 years I had been covering it. They never once asked how it got paid. They assumed money fell like rain. Not anymore. 3 weeks later, Dad called. His voice was calm at first, but I could hear the edges fraying. "Why didn't the mortgage clear this month? Bank says it's overdue." I let the silence stretch. Then I said, "Because the person who paid it doesn't live there anymore. Remember? She was told to get out." The line went quiet. I imagined his face, the dawning realization crawling across it. Finally, he whispered, "You can't be serious." But I was, deadly serious. The fallout was quick. Late fees piled. The bank sent letters. My siblings started calling, their tone switching from smug to desperate. "You're really going to let Mom and Dad lose the house? After everything they did for you? Everything they did?" I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You mean throwing me out in front of the family? That's everything?" The silence on the other end was my answer. When the second month passed unpaid, Dad showed up at my apartment. No calls, no warning, just his fist pounding on the door like a creditor. I opened, calm, composed. He looked smaller than I remembered, deflated, desperate. "Listen," he said, "your mother didn't mean it. She was upset. Family fights happen. But you can't just stop paying. We'll lose the house." I looked him dead in the eye. Then, lose it. He blinked, stunned. "You made it clear," I continued, "I'm not part of that family. You can't cash my checks while erasing my place at the table." His voice cracked. "But we thought you'd always help us." That was the moment I saw it, the truth behind the betrayal. They never loved me for me. They loved me for what I could provide. And without my money, I was disposable. They scrambled after that, sold jewelry, borrowed from cousins, tried to guilt me with long messages about blood and duty. But duty is a two-way street. They had burned the bridge, then expected me to keep rebuilding it from my side. Not this time. The day the foreclosure notice arrived, my sister called me in tears. "They're losing everything. How can you just stand by?" I almost pitied her. Almost. "You stood by when she told me to get out," I said. "Now I'm just returning the favor." And I hung up. The last time I saw them was at the courthouse steps. They looked hollow, beaten down by reality. My mother's eyes met mine, but there was no apology there, just anger. I smiled. Not cruel, not triumphant, just free, because the chains were broken. For years they treated me like their safety net. Now they were the ones falling, and I had finally learned how to walk away. I don't regret it, not a single step. Sometimes the cruelest thing you can do to those who exploit you isn't shouting or fighting or even leaving. It's nothing. Silence, withdrawal, absence, letting them feel the weight of a life without you. And that silence is what shut them down forever.